Hello, welcome to the DraftCast. This week I'm joined by Adam, the manager for Pique Blinders. Today we're going to take a look at the league standings after game week 3 and review Adam's team. After that we'll take a look at Adam's segment, which is new and likely to strike conversations between all the managers. I think you'll agree, Adam?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there could well be some controversial opinions thrown in. Be interesting to see what everyone else thinks as well.
Yeah, definitely. So let's crack on with the league standings as they stand after game week 3. We've had quite a lot of movement since the first episode a couple game weeks ago, but I'm gonna be the first to say I'm quite happy with where I'm sat now after 2 game weeks. But yeah, there's still a long way to go.
It's all about drafting in Big Rom after game week 1, wasn't it? Really,
Yeah.
I mean, he had a stormer, didn't he, against Arsenal in game week 2, as we all kind of assumed that he would. And your team now, looking at it, ridiculous, really. I mean, De Gea, Henderson being out with COVID. So does De Gea keep his place even when Henderson does come back? Laporte seems to have finally got a few games under his belt. Tottenham have started well, so you've got Dyer with clean sheets.
Yeah.
Obviously, your number 1 pick, JWP, does what he does for Saints. It's, you've still got De Bruyne injured, so not playing. Ben Chilwell hasn't even played a single minute in the Prem yet this season.
I know.
So we've still got him on the back. It's got a good team forming there.
Yeah, I'd like to think so. I think Wood's a decent pickup as well. He seems to be doing okay. But yeah.
He's a one-time winner now, isn't he, after his transfer from the Nudes to Lukaku.
Yeah.
He's a solid pick. He's a good draft player, isn't he?
I hope so. Well, we shall see. But I guess we can't ignore the fact of the Orvan Bros at the top of their joint.
It's both hitting 65 as well.
Yeah.
Tremendous weeks for both of them. It's, as we know, it's kind of par for the course for our president, Jim. He always starts off like a house on fire, doesn't he? I think these international breaks, 3 and 3 months, are going to be the biggest test for him, because as we know, he loves the trade, and he loves to trade some good names, and Tolly as well, doing really well. It's obviously he had a cracking end to last season, apart from just fell a little bit short on the last game week, but he's got quite the team shaping up with Ederson, Varane. I think obviously Kufal is a good draft player, but he's got lucky with Ferran Torres playing through the middle up front. How long that lasts for, we'll find out. But he's got a nice twosome up top with obviously Harry Kane and Mikel Antonio, who I personally love. I think he's a really, really good striker. And the fact that West Ham haven't signed another striker to go with him tells us that he's going to be the main man. So I think Tolly could have a very good run as well, kind of going through the season.
Yeah, definitely. And I was quite surprised that Gundo got onto the team scoring sheet, if you like, this week. I didn't think he was going to re-perform this season, but maybe this is the start of something. Who knows?
Well, this is it. I think
De Bruyne not playing.
Exactly. With De Bruyne not playing, he's got that central role again, and he's got that license to go forward. I mean, I think it was the same last year, wasn't it? When De Bruyne was out, Gundogan just seemed to. I mean, as you know, you picked him up. I mean, he just seemed to go wild on points. And then when KDB came back, he kind of just settled back down again. So he might, the longer De Bruyne is out, we might see Gundogan picking up some decent points. But again, with De Bruyne coming back, Bernardo Silva not looking like he's being sold, Foden yet to come back as well from injury. It'd be interesting to see actually how Man City shape up. We all know about the rotation, so it might be a slight poison chalice. We'll find out.
Yeah, definitely. I'm just looking down the rest of the standings, and apart from, there's a couple 39s in there. Do you reckon that's going to be sort of the average score maybe this season? We have had some high scores. We've had a few 60s now and a few 50s. So I don't know.
I think if you're hitting in and around the kind of the 40, 43 mark on a consistent basis, I think you're going to be in and around it, aren't you, really? But it's all about just trying to hit those massive weeks like the 65s from T and Jim.
Yeah.
But I think those are the ones that are going to win you the league if you can just hit those a little bit more regularly than not. But I think just the consistency of the 43, if you can average around the 45 mark, I think you're going to be up the top, and then 42, 43 going to be kind of anything from say second to fifth, and I think it's just going to carry on being super close within the kind of the top half, really.
Yeah, definitely. And going to the other half, I was about to say we discussed it a little bit before coming on, but the point gap isn't that great at the moment. However, there seemed to be a bit of a gap forming between 11 and 12, and it seems to be Rich again in the same position he was last year.
Oh man, Rich just literally cannot catch a break, and do you know it? Obviously, he's gonna pick up Ronaldo, isn't he? And we'll touch on this a bit later, but Ronaldo, 36 years old, he's going to play as a central striker. Is he going to be the man to go and score 25 Prem goals? Ooh, I don't know. I just think that now United have got a lot of attacking talent. They're not going to just stick one player on the bench forever. They are going to rotate. And do they then keep Ronaldo for, say, the bigger games, the Champions League games? We'll find out. But yeah. I think Ronaldo will be obviously it'll be an amazing pickup. Don't get me wrong. Especially, and by God, does Rich need that? But will he play consistently enough for the draft? It'll be interesting to see what Ollie does with him.
Yeah. But there's plenty of time. There's still time to.
But loads of time left. I mean, at the end of the day, we're only at the end of game week 3, and there's a 70-odd point swing between top and bottom. So it can be done. So come on, Rich. I'm pretty certain all of us are behind you, mate.
Yeah.
Let's just hope that you get a couple of nice free agents and they hit some form at the right time for you, and we'll see you climbing that ladder.
Yeah, that's what we want to see. That is what we want to see. Right. I don't think there's much else to discuss on the league table. Like I say, it's only after game week 3, so there's plenty of football to go. One thing I had a question for you is the next game week 4, is that the start of the El Presidente? Or is
certainly is.
Ooh.
It certainly is. It goes in a row, 4, 5, 6. It'll be another international break after the group stages of the El Presidente. So the exciting stuff actually does start now.
Yeah.
So it'll be. I'm really excited for it. I had a shocker in the cups, so I'm buzzing for it to start again.
Yeah.
And let's just hope that we hit some really high scores, and it'd be interesting to see how the group stages pan out.
Yeah, I'm excited. It should be good. Right. let's move on to a bit of a team review. We haven't done this for a while. So looking at your team this week, let's say it's almost at the average of 39 points. Son doing well for you. I think you're one of the few players to have made some actual manager trades, aren't you?
Yes, it's very nice of you to bring that up. Yeah, both myself and Jim have been trying to push the trades a little bit more. I've done a trade with Jim, which by the looks of things is going to probably bite me in the backside by bringing the gamble in that is Lingard. But we are only a few hours away from the deadline passing, and I think he's staying at United now. So that gamble has not paid off. So I'll have to send him to the agency. But and I did a trade with Max as well, which has so far. I mean, there's only been obviously a couple of game weeks, but he's benefited from that a little bit with Gabriel Jesus. Obviously, I took Bamford, and Bamford finally got his first goal. So the trades, they're going to be few and far between this year, just because I think everyone's a bit nervous with how tight it is. Nobody does want to lose out.
Yeah.
And rightfully so. But I think if you can, as we've said in the group chat and stuff, if within the first kind of 10 game weeks, if you can get trades done and get the right free agents in, then actually that's going to set you up for the whole season. And the longer we wear on, I think there's even less likelihood of trades happening.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think there's going to be anywhere near as many trades this year, even with 2 extra managers. I think people from the last seasons have got the experience of what looks like a good trade and what doesn't, and I think that maybe the new guys are probably a bit too nervous to maybe lose out from someone experienced in trading. But it is interesting to see the ones that do happen.
I think this is it. I mean, I kind of pride myself on sending fairly even trades, and at the end of the day, there will be somebody that. You look at it and there will be somebody that loses out on the trade. It's all a gamble. But nobody really knows, off a fair trade, actually, who is going to lose that gamble. So I just think, well, why not? Give it a go. At the end of the day, like, I'm in it to win it, obviously, as everyone else is. But it's just everyone wants to try and better themselves, and especially the ones kind of lower down the league. I think there's I found this out last year, really. There's a reason why we're down the bottom of the league. So you've got to throw kind of caution to the wind and send out a few trades and just see as to what happens, because at the end of the day, keeping the same players every week, you're going to keep, staying down towards the bottom of the league. So I think if you are struggling or you've had a kind of a bad 3 or 4 weeks, then why not throw a few trades out there? I'm always all ears on them, and I'm always happy for a bit of negotiation as well. So let's go. Let's do it. Get it done.
We'll see. We'll see how many more people. I wonder if Richard will use Ronaldo as a bit of leverage to try and get some decent players in. But
again, he's a good chess piece to have.
Yeah.
Whether or not, again, whether he has to do that early before we have a look and see actually how Ollie's going to use him might be an idea. Because if you know what I mean, it's like Bale last year.
Yeah.
Big name. Comes into the Premier, you think, oh, hello, here we go. And actually only gets played in the minority rather than majority games, but gets played in Europe all the time. And actually his trade value just diminishes quite quickly. So again, I'd take Bale, for example. I think Will picked him up early doors last year when he arrived, and I kind of threw a lot of trade at him, and Will was like, no, 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 no. Obviously went to agency because then he couldn't trade him because he wasn't playing. So it might be wise of Rich to perhaps see what is about. Not saying that he should trade him, but just play the field a bit and just see what people would offer for him. And then if he, at the end of the day, if he can pick up, say, 2 good players for 1, then why wouldn't you?
Exactly. Yeah. But going back to your team, then, what do you see? What do you see as your players that you are potentially, you need to swap out, or they might not be performing right now, but you think they will do, so you're going to hold on to them?
So I'll go through it. Obviously, my keepers are a nightmare. I don't want Arsenal keepers, but my whole thought process pre-draft was to take a decent keeper and have their backup as my number 2. Yeah. So, take for example, the ideal would have been Chelsea's Mendy and Arisa Balaga. Just because obviously Tuchel does often rotate, especially when the European competitions start. But then the keepers went probably around earlier than I was expecting, like the proper good ones.
Yeah.
And I was a bit silly, really, because De Gea was still about when I picked up Areola, because I thought Areola would get in above Fabianski. That was wrong. He may still well do, but obviously hindsight now. So I should have taken De Gea, really, but, hindsight's a wonderful thing. But if anybody wants an Arsenal keeper, although highly unlikely, send me a trade, would you? Defence, I think my defence is actually my best asset. I mean, Trent is Trent, isn't he? He looks like he's, Liverpool looked like a different animal this year compared to last year. And Trent's picking up bonus points kind of willy-nilly as usual, really. What did he get? He'd picked up 3 in a 2-0 win against Burnley, and he even picked up 2 bonus points in the Chelsea 1-1 draw. So quite happy with that. Reguilon as well has seemed to... I mean, we know Nuno loves his fullbacks, and Reggie's picked up some nice points so far. 3 clean sheets. He's picked up a 7, 6 and a 9. So doing quite well. I'm just waiting for Zinchenko to get back into the City team. Pep's gone with Walker and Cancelo. I'm pretty certain Zinchenko will get in eventually, but I think I might just have to wait for the European nights to kick in.
Yeah.
And then I've picked up Kurt Zouma as well, because I got the rumours were rife that he was moving from Chelsea to West Ham. And I know that West Ham love a set-piece goal, and Zouma, as you know, loves a header.
Yeah.
So I'm buzzing to have brought him in. I think he's going to do really, really well. And then I brought in Tariq Lamptey as well, who has been injured for about 1 million years. But I look back at the start of last season and he was unreal for Brighton. So I'm hoping that Graham Potter has said that he's back after the international break. So I'm hoping that he gets back into the side and hopefully stays fit, because I think he could be quite an interesting pickup.
Yeah.
And then my midfield is kind of mixed, really. Obviously, I've got Son, which is great. I really, really like him just as a general kind of footballer. I think he's excellent. Leon Bailey I picked up in a trade with Max. I think Leon Bailey excites me for Villa. I think we've got a really, really good player on our hands. So again, he's been injured, but he's back after the international break as well. So I'm really intrigued as a Villa fan, but also from a draft point of view to see how he gets on. Adama Traore has kind of thrived having the ball with Wolves' new manager and their new kind of gung-ho system that they seem to be playing. I think they've managed like something ridiculous, like 50 odd shots after 3 games, which is just mad.
Yeah.
Yet still to score though, which is madness. But I'm not surprised with Adama Traore because he's got pace in abundance, like Usain Bolt pace, but he just can't cross a ball. So I'm hoping that maybe he's one of those that you just think he's 90% there, but I don't think he'll ever get that other 10%. But I think for kind of a 4th or a 5th midfielder, I think he's an okay pickup. And then Lingard, I'm going to have to get rid of because it doesn't look like he's moving anywhere. And Stuart Dallas was just the case of he did well last year, even from left back with picking up assists and goals. And he was still there in, I think, I can't quite remember when I picked him up. It must have been about the 9th or 10th round. And I was surprised that he was still there. So I picked him up, and he'll play every week, which is kind of what I want. But I don't know whether he'll pick up the amount of points that he did last year, just purely because he's moved from defender to midfielder. But we'll wait and see on that.
Yeah, that's what sort of stopped me from picking him up during the draft.
Yeah, I'm going to give him a few more weeks because I'm hoping that Leeds finally bed in their new left back that they got from Barcelona. If they can bed him in, then Dallas will play in midfield, which would be excellent then. But he's a bit of an enigma for me at the moment. I don't know quite what to do with him. Like, I want to keep him, but I don't know whether I will long term. I doubt I will long term, but we'll wait and see how it goes. And then my front line is, I'm quietly confident about my front line. Ollie Watkins, I love Ollie Watkins, favourite Villa player. So I was chuffed to bring him in, and I was chuffed to get Bamford in as well because we know Bamford's going to play every week.
Yeah.
And he picks up points as well. So I think between the two, Watkins and Bamford, I think I've got quite a nice duo there. And then Watford's new striker, Emmanuel Dennis. Watford have got 1,000,001 strikers, it seems, but Dennis has started every game.
Yeah.
And he tore Villa apart for about an hour or so, and then kind of got taken off with a knock. And he hasn't really shown a great deal in the last 2 games, but at least he's played 90 minutes in the last 2 games. So it makes me think, as a third choice striker, for somebody that will probably play more often than not, it's not a bad player to have as a third striker. But we'll see, because you never know who's going to get dropped into the agency from different people. So there's some rogue players being picked up and rogue players being dropped.
Yeah.
So we'll have to wait and see. And we'll also see as to what other strikers get added to the game as well between now and the end of deadline day.
Yeah. One question I had for you, you mentioned about Ollie Watkins there. Do you think the bringing in of Ings will impact his performance compared to last year?
No, I think if anything, it will help him actually.
Yeah.
With the guy that left Villa, he was obviously out for probably about a third of last season, and he linked quite well with Ollie Watkins. And I think, but the problem was Ollie Watkins was still getting points even without that bloke playing for Villa. So now we've brought in some extra reinforcements going forward in Leon Bailey, Emi Buendia, and obviously Danny Ings, by the looks of things and sounds of things, is going to play in like that second striker number 10 role.
Right.
So it looks as if we're going to go with like almost like a 2 up front, but Danny Ings will kind of drop into midfield. I think actually it will help, and I'm really looking forward to it, just as a Villa fan perspective, as well as the drafting side of things as well, actually, how well Ollie Watkins does, because he's got a bit more of an all-round attacking threat around him now.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that he's going to get fed a few more chances.
Ooh, exciting.
I'm quietly confident in my team if I can pick up 2, maybe 3 okay players. I'm confident that I haven't got like an absolute worldy player, but I've got lots of like decent players that are, there or thereabouts in kind of like the top enders, shall we say? Not quite a worldy, but that kind of next level below.
Okay. It is interesting getting people's thoughts on their teams. I think I'll do this more often because, it's interesting. But I think we'll leave that there, and we'll move on to a segment I think we've both been quite excited to do. Yeah. So, do you want to introduce, or shall I?
Well, we can do it together, can't we?
Yeah. I approached you with this idea of doing a tier list of players in the draft. And so you've gone away and you've come up with a list of players. We're gonna put them into. We're gonna decide what tier we think they should go in, and probably gonna lean on you mostly for what tier they go in. But then you think you've got some that you want me to put in a tier at the end, shall we say?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of talk, especially around the trading front, as to kind of who equals against another player. And I think from my perspective as a kind of like a bit more of an overall football knowledge, and your perspective as a kind of knowing football via the draft side of things, I think it's quite an interesting combination to see kind of where we end up putting players.
Yeah,
I think the majority are going to be fairly straightforward between the two of us, but there's quite a few that I've put in here which we might get different answers from.
Okay. I'm looking forward to this. So we've come up with 5 tiers. We've got God tier, Yes Sir tier, Decent tier, Meh tier, and Gutter tier. So let's just get on with it. Let's just do one player first, and hopefully people will then realise what we're doing, and hopefully it'll be mostly should be useful for people in trading, and maybe picking someone up from agency if they're not already in someone's team, and B, I think could be controversial and spark up some conversations. So who's first on the list of players you want to do?
So I'm going to go with a nice, easy one, who I think that I would hope that all 12 of us understand as the draft GOAT in Mo Salah.
Okay. Mo Salah. Where are we thinking? Gutter? No. It's got to be God.
It's got to be God, isn't it?
Yeah.
He is the GOAT at draft football over the last few years. So he should have been the number one pick. He should be everyone's number one pick. And for some reason, Morris picked him up third, which I'm sure he was not expecting, but absolutely delighted about. So he is the GOAT of fantasy football. So definitely God tier for me.
Agreed. Who's next?
Next one, we're going to go with Trent Alexander-Arnold.
TAA.
Go on then.
Where are we thinking? I'm not going to... Personally, I'm not going to say God tier. I don't think he's up there. And I think there could be arguments for either of the Yes Sir and Decent tier based on last season's performance.
And this is it. Had you take last season out, I'd put him in. Had last season not have happened, I know this is stupid to say, but had last season not had happened, or Van Dijk would have got injured and kind of disrupted Liverpool's momentum completely, I would be placing him in God tier. And I think he was unreal the year before, and this is why obviously Tolly then picked him first last year.
Yeah.
And yes, that was a hindsight. Again, that was a mistake. But at the time, we were thinking, actually, that could be quite a shrewd move. And this year, again, slurping up bonus points. Liverpool are back to their normal, picking up clean sheets. I was debating God tier against yes sir tier.
Okay. I think then we go in the middle and we go yes sir tier.
Okay, let's do that.
That's probably going to be one of the controversial ones, I reckon.
I think so. Because people still think about last year.
Yeah.
But that was a bit of an anomaly.
Okay. Who's next?
Okay, so this one's my controversial one. Cristiano Ronaldo.
Ooh, Ronaldo. No, he's an unknown, really. You could argue.
Exactly. Where do you think?
See, I would just put him in decent because I have no way of knowing how he's going to perform. And I think, like you mentioned earlier about the European games, because he's been playing in Europe, maybe Man United are going to go, okay, you've been playing in Europe for the last however long. We'll use you in those games because you'll have, a better understanding of how those games are going to go, maybe. So as a draft player, he might not be that good.
I agree. I think Ronaldo will obviously be used in the Prem, and I'm sure he will score goals when he's in the Prem. But I don't. He's not going to play the remaining 35 games this season, is he? In the Prem, I'd be shocked. If he starts more than 20.
Yeah, it would be. Definitely would be a shock. Yeah.
So I'd put him in decent, just purely because I think he'll be like Bale in that respect. I think when he does play, he'll do well, but I just don't think he'll play enough for the draft.
Yeah, but we could be proved wrong, and I bet Rich is hoping we are.
Absolutely, and I'm sure I will be.
Yeah.
But that's my controversial one, I think. My next one is should be fairly straightforward. Harry Kane.
Okay, Harry Kane. It's got. I imagine everyone's going to be saying God tier here.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be shocked if anybody was putting him any lower than God tier. Whether he'd gone City or whether he'd stayed at Tottenham. I think either way, he's going to go mad with points either way. So he's God tier for me. Even though I'm going to contradict myself in a minute, but even though he can be prone to an injury, I'd still stick him in God tier.
Yeah.
And the reason why I'm going to contradict myself is because the next one is Kevin De Bruyne. KDB. I'm just going to say God tier because I've got him in my team, but I do feel like, he's injured already this season. Last season, I think he was injured for quite a bit. I can't remember what he finished points-wise on, but I still think it was up there in the higher than most players in the game. So I think for me, he is the one that I can think of that could be placed in between God and yes sir, but I'm leaning more towards yes sir.
Ooh. Yeah, that is interesting.
Purely because he picks up injuries, and he probably will pick, and he's already injured. I'm sure he'll pick up 2 or 3 more injuries between now and the end of the season. Might only be little ones, but I just don't. Again, 38 games in a season, I just don't see him playing
enough of them.
The remaining 35.
Yeah. I don't know. I kind of want to do him at like a half and a half, but we'll put him down here for now because I don't think we can do that. We'll have to put him in. Has to be in one of the tiers.
The next one is Jamie Vardy.
Vardy. Right then.
Some may say his legs have gone. Some would say he is a round one pick in the draft every year.
Yeah. I don't think he's God tier.
No.
He's not God tier. I think you could, for the same argument we've just come up with for KDB, you could probably put him here as well.
You reckon?
I think he's good enough to be in this tier. He's a known entity.
Yeah.
And
I'm going to throw this one out there. If Jimmy offered you a trade for Kevin De Bruyne and offered you Jamie Vardy, would you take it?
ooh. That is a good question. I think, like we've just discussed, Vardy will probably play more.
Mm-hmm.
That is an interesting question. I'd be very tempted, for sure, because obviously I know
you said it here first.
KDB is injured as we stand. So what? But yeah,
I'll be led by you. You place him where you want to place him, Luke.
I'm going to place him here. I think that as a trade, as a one-to-one trade, it's not to be completely dismissed. It'd be hard. It would be hard for me to accept, I think, if I was to look at the whole season. But then again, like we've just said, how many more seasons can KDB do what he does?
Very good point. Very good point. The next one is Bruno Fernandes.
Bruno Fernandes. Well, he's I don't, because I only really have from what he did last season. Was he at Man United the season before? I don't really remember.
For half a season.
For half a season.
He arrived in January.
Ah. So has he been in long enough to be considered God tier? Or is he still...
Very good question, Luke. Very good question indeed.
I feel like you need to place one now. I feel like I've just placed...
I think he is a yes sir tier, not a God tier, and that is going to infuriate a few people. But just primarily for the reasoning that I think most of his points have come from set pieces.
Yeah.
Which I'm certain United will still get. But when Ronaldo is on the pitch, Ronaldo will be taking those set pieces. He will demand it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the bit that stops me from sticking in God tier.
You could be right.
Although previous last season and obviously the half a season before, he would normally be put in God tier. Had Ronaldo not signed, he'd be put in God tier. But he's a yes sir tier for me.
Okay, go with you on this one.
Next one is Patrick Bamford, PB9.
Bamford. Ooh. This is a tough one, I think.
I'm going to put it out there. I went out of my way to pick him up from Max.
You did?
But I do not put him in the category of Trent, Fernandes, KDB. I put him in decent, even though I went out of my way to get him. And I think that would maybe perhaps do him a slight disservice, because then when you take into the account that he plays every game and he does score goals, does he deserve to be in yes sir tier? Arguably, but I just can't put him into that bracket with Trent, Kevin De Bruyne, Jamie Vardy and Bruno Fernandes.
Yeah, it's a difficult one, and because they've not been in... It's not been in the Premier League very long, has he? So I think, maybe in a couple of seasons' time he might be up there if his performance this season goes as well as it did last time. who knows? He might even move to another club to become, more of a stable player and score goals for fun. But yeah, we'll see.
Good point. I mean, Tottenham were linked with him when they were linked with getting rid of Kane. So obviously, there's got to be something in him if Tottenham are sniffing round.
Yeah.
But yeah, happy with decent tier.
Oh yeah, like you say, I don't think I could put him any higher than that.
So the next one is Nick Pope.
Ooh, Nick Pope. Now, I guess keepers are always a bit of a interesting pick, aren't they? Some people say you need to have decent ones, and
arguably underrated.
Yeah.
But Nick Pope has shown year in, year out now for the last few years that he is steady for draft points because he picks up save points willy-nilly.
Yeah.
And Burnley do love a run of clean sheets in a row, don't they? They might, concede quite a bit, but then they'll just turn a tide within one game week and then pick up like 6 clean sheets in a row. So do we put him in decent or do we put him in meh because he's a goalkeeper? Because as you know, there's not many trades with goalkeepers in.
There aren't.
Because nobody wants to trade with a goalkeeper because it's seen as meh, it's a goalkeeper.
I agree to partly, and maybe that was more the case last season, whereas I think this season, like you've shown with your team, having decent keepers could be quite a big impact to how you do in the league because there's so many managers, and having the ability to have 2 decent keepers would be much harder this year.
Yeah.
But then again, I'm like thinking of any keeper, would I put them in decent? Because you just don't know with keepers, really. That's a tough one.
I'm tempted to put him in meh.
Yeah.
But it's a harsh meh.
It is a harsh meh, you're right. But neither of us are really fighting the case to put him any higher, I would say.
Exactly. You wouldn't trade Nick Pope for Cristiano Ronaldo.
No, that is true.
There we go. Next one. Teemu Pukki.
Ooh. I really don't know
where I would put him.
Go on then.
Gutter. Send him to the gutter.
Okay.
You're not fighting that one. That says everything I need to know.
Well, I don't really know. I mean, because he wasn't in the league last year, and the year before, he did all right.
He did well. Yeah.
I don't know. Has anyone got him?
Send him. Yeah, Tom's got him, I think.
Okay.
Trying to pretend he's God's gift. He's in the gutter, Tom. You won't get anybody decent for him, I can promise you, from the other 11 managers.
Yeah, it's going to be... I mean, unless he turns it around and they just goes on a wild one, I guess it won't. Yeah, we'll see, I guess.
The next one is Roberto Firmino.
Firmino. Well, I feel like a lot of people have said a couple of seasons ago he'd be God tier, but I don't think that's the case anymore, is it?
It's not for me, no.
I'm not even sure he's yes sir tier now, is he?
Not for me, no.
There's probably a case to be made for him being decent tier, but then is he a striker? Is he down as a forward?
He's down as a forward, yeah.
Yeah,
you wouldn't believe it if you watched him, but he's down as a forward.
Yeah, I mean, if Tom offered someone Bamford, well, no, sorry, you've got Bamford. If you offered Bamford for him, is that person going to take it? Probably. They're going to take Bamford over Firmino, aren't they?
Snap my hands off.
Yeah.
And I'd be stupid to offer that trade, so he's not even decent here for me.
Yes, that is a harsh one, but I'm probably with you there. Sorry to whoever's got Firmino.
It's arguably a conversation to be had that he's in the gutter, but we'll be nice. We'll put him in Meh tier, just purely because he plays for Liverpool, I think.
Yeah, I think he does all right. He does enough to not be gutter, I think.
All right, then. Okay, we'll go with Meh.
Right, who's next?
The next one is Dele Alli.
Well, surely, from a draft point of view, this is gutter, right? He doesn't play, does he?
Well, he is. He's played every game so far this season.
Oh, really? Okay.
He has. He's played every game, and Jim has got him, and he's already on 14 points off 3. It's not a bad return. Played every game. But has he done enough yet to warrant going into decent? I'd put him in the potential of being indecent.
Yeah. Potentially, yeah.
Because a couple of years ago, when he first went to Tottenham under Pochettino, you'd be putting him in yes sir tier. And it's only last season where he flopped horrifically under Mourinho would you put him in gutter. But has he done enough and have enough potential to be put into decent?
I don't know. It might be too early to tell.
I'm going to let you decide.
Well, I think my initial reaction tells you what most people would come to mind, I guess, around him. So I feel like Meh tier is where he's at for now, but we could do this again next time you're on and we may update his position. So
that's a very good point. So the next one is, I'm sure, a player close to your draft heart in Gundogan.
Gundogan. Ooh. My initial opinion is going to be decent because I think when we've discussed when KDB's injured, he has the potential to do well. However, but now the more I think about it, but no, I think that's a fair. You know, he plays every game pretty much.
I'm saying okay to decent, but only just.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
I think if you offered a trade Gundogan for Ronaldo, I don't think you're taking it.
Ooh, maybe not
I don't know.
1-to-1, but maybe as part of a 2-for-2. And if the second off Ronaldo's team was dog, you might.
Yeah.
Because Ronaldo is an unknown. We've only put him there because we don't really know what he's going to do. Whereas Gundo's playing every game, and if KDB's out, he's got the potential to score. So and go on another rampage like he did last season. So
okay, yeah, that's fine. In that case, yeah, I'm happy to go decent if you're happy.
Yeah, I think most people would agree with that, but we'll find out, I guess.
And the last one in this bit is Ruben Diaz.
Mm-hmm. Your turn. I've just done one. I don't know. You're going to make me do some more now.
For me, it's a yes sir tier. All day.
Yeah.
All day. I think he plays 99% of games for Man City. They keep clean sheets. Having had him last season, was actually surprising how many bonus points he did actually pick up.
Yeah.
I think he is actually arguably, amongst some managers, an underrated draft player. If he was involved in a trade.
Yeah, I can see that.
I think he would be an underrated trade piece. So I would stick him in yes sir tier.
Okay, I can't disagree. So we'll stick him there.
Okay. So the next 5, I'm going to leave it down to you, but you have got to pick a tier straight away, and you've got to stick to it.
Oh, okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah. First one.
Raheem Sterling.
Sterling, I'm going to put in decent tier.
Okay. Next one.
Okay.
Marcus Rashford.
Ooh. I think he's a meh tier for me.
Okay, next.
Yeah.
Phil Foden.
Foden. I'm going meh again.
Oh. Next one. Kai Havertz.
Oh, I don't know with this one.
Instant reaction, where are you putting him?
See, my instant was going to be meh again, but now I'm like questioning myself.
No, your first reaction is the one that we've got to go with.
Yeah, okay.
You will get judged on that. And the last one is, can you hazard a guess on who it's going to be?
Go on.
James Ward-Prowse.
Yeah, I started typing that before you even sort of spoke anything. I'm going to be reasonable and put him in decent.
Where do you really want to put him?
Oh, of course I want to put him in God tier, but I'm not going to do that because that's way too controversial. Yeah.
Well, it could be arguably controversial that you put JWP above Foden and Havertz, but we'll leave it at that. Like I said,
I think I got Havertz mixed up with Werner at Chelsea.
No
but you're not going to let me move them.
There.
You're not going to let me move them, no?
I am not, no.
Okay, great. I'll have to feel the wrath of everybody later.
And that is us done for now.
Yeah. I think we definitely revisit, add more names. And I mean, maybe it could be a good thing to do with other managers every now and again and get other people's input. Or do you want to keep it to yourself?
No, absolutely. I'm fully intrigued as to where people put players in a tier system, because I think this is what we may get mixed up with trading.
Yeah.
Fact, and I'm guilty of it as well, in the fact that I feel a certain player is actually better than perhaps what other people perceive it, because it's not linear, is it? So we've put Vardy in yes sir tier, but I'm sure in some people's minds he would just go into decent.
Yeah.
So take that for example, and I think that's where the trading front actually, I think people get quite nervous about, because I think I'm sending a very good trade, but in reality other people's opinions of certain players are going to be completely different to mine.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think something like this would be intriguing to be passed around all the different managers, and actually it'd be interesting to see where they put players.
And I think what you've just done there is like initial reactions is probably a good way of getting that opinion from people. So like just initial reaction, put them in a tier, and then you can either give a reason as to why or not and move on.
Absolutely.
But I like that. That was, it was good. I enjoyed that.
Good. Glad to be of help.
So, yeah, I think we'll wrap it up after that. Leave a comment down below if you agree or disagree with some of our positionings on the tier list, and maybe even who you'd like for us to add next time or discuss next time. But yeah, no, thanks for coming on again, Adam.
It's always a privilege. Thank you very much.
I know it was late notice, but yeah, thanks for filling in, and look forward to getting you on again soon.
Sounds good to me.
yeah, I think all we can do is sign out. So, as always, this is the DraftCast. And remember, draft is life. See you next time.